Hey everybody, Homeslice Center here, and in today's video, I'm going extremely anti-meta to try and destroy some extremely toxic teams. Today, I'm running Shadow Camerupt, a Pokemon that was well designed to completely destroy the toxic Magnezone, Wigglytuff, Razor Leaf, Tropius team that I've seen everywhere. Camerupt is Magnezone's worst nightmare. It resists Charm from Wigglytuff, and it hits the Tropius for super effective damage. Now, Camerupt, obviously not a Pokemon I'd recommend if you're looking to gain Elo, but I did have some pretty nice results with the team. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Hopping into the first match, leading Shadow Camerupt versus Shadow Gligar. Not the lead I was hoping for. I'm going to stay in to start with. Look at the Incinerates. Safe switch the Goodra. Opponent fires off energy, and this is very okay by me. I'm never going to be shielding the Goodra. They bait with the Aerial Ace. They can make Aerial Ace number 2, but not only do I survive this, but I can make the Aqua Tail and force a shield or switch advantage. Opponent realizes this. They're switching out and sending in Sableye. Sableye tanks the Aqua Tail way better than the half-health Gligar. Sableye gets the farm down, but baiting this out is awesome. I can send in the Camerupt, fire off the Earth Power, and if they want to keep this energy, they have to give up a shield. They let it go. Sableye is going to get knocked out. Are they going to be sending back in the Gligar? Opponent sends in a Whiscash. My clock's up, but their timer is not yet available to switch. I send in the Trevenant. Whiscash going to be firing off the Scald. Scald is going to connect. Scald does not get the debuff, so the 50-50 coin flip does go my way. Seed Bomb is going to be shielded. They're going to send in the Gligar. Gligar, unfortunately for them, is pretty low. They're going to have to respect the Seed Bomb or they get knocked out. They will commit the shield. Gligar gets the farm down. In comes the Camerupt, and Camerupt is actually going to be able to win this game. Versus 2 ground types, down goes the Gligar, in comes the Whiscash, and here's the thing, I know Earth Power KOs, but you know what also KOs? Resisted Overheat. Shadow Camerupt into the Shadow Whiscash, Overheat picks up the KO, and we take the win. Great lead in the next match, Camerupt versus Magnezone. Is this the team? They're staying into a Camerupt lead. They quit instantly. You know they had that Wigglytuff Tropius team in the back. There's nothing they can do, and they resign the match. Great lead in the next match, Shadow Camerupt versus Skarmory. Opponent safe switches into a Whiscash, and we get to hard punish the Whiscash with the Trevenant. Trevenant actually does not get Scald debuffed, which is some pretty nice Scald luck going my way. Seed Bomb is going to pick up the knockout. Opponent can send back in the Skarmory and go for an incredibly aggressive farm down because Steel Wings will definitely add up. I'm farming up with the Trevenant, firing off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will do some very nice damage, but it's not going to put them into farm down range. It looks like I'm going to fall just short of the Shadow Ball here. I make the Seed Bomb with a fraction of HP. How good is their counting? We'll have to check. Their counting is perfect. In comes the Camerupt. Incinerate goes through. I shield the Brave Bird. Camerupt has no bulk to it whatsoever. And now let's see what they have in the back. This is the problem. They have Poliwrath. Poliwrath now has 3 counters as I fire off this Earth Power, get the shield, and the switch into Goodra. Opponent will go for the Icy Wind instantly. I have to let this through. I can't afford to shield. The Icy Wind is going to do quite a lot of damage. Goodra firing off the Aqua Tail bait. It all comes down to this. If they leave with 7 counters, they win, but they left with 6. So that means even though they throw on less than optimal timing, this game is over anyway. Icy Wind alternates on 7-6-7 cycles, so the moment they left with 6 there on their 6th cycle, the game was over, because they needed 14 turns, plus I get at least 1 turn from a sneak, so Camerupt gets to overheat another water type and take the win. Tough lead in the next match, Camerupt versus Lanturn. I throw 2 Incinerates, safe switch into the Goodra, and the opponent responds with Dragonair. Unfortunately, the game stutters there. I'm not sure if I ended up losing a Dragon Breath or not. They're going to commit the shield, and they do get the farm down. My guess is with me throwing the move, I'm probably going to be getting farmed down anyway, but the fact that it stuttered leaves a little bit of doubt, which is always unfortunate. I sent in the Trevenant because Trevenant is going to wall all moves from Dragonair, and I'm just hoping that it's not the team that has Guzzlord in the back, but realizing it's probably the team with Guzzlord in the back, and this is looking terrible. This is very unfortunate. They're just going to go for the Dragon Claw. I have to try and sweep with the Camerupt. In comes the Lanturn, and I'm firing off the Earth Power. Earth Power is going to basically one-hit KO the Lanturn from this health range, so they're forced to commit the shield. And now, the question will be, how much can I overfarm? I believe that since Earth Power is 55 and Incinerate is always 20, You have to throw 3 Earth Powers before the 4th is going to be in 2 Incinerates. And here, honestly, I had lost count. And I thought if I threw 1 more Incinerate, that they would make the move. So I throw the Earth Power here, thinking that I can make the Earth Power. But as you see, I'm 5 energy short of the Earth Power. They're going to be able to make the Dragon Claw, KO the Camerupt. So close, yet so far. And we lose the game. Tough lead in the next match, Shadow Camerupt versus Talonflame. I'm going to throw 1 Incinerate, save switch into Goodra to get some important fast move damage and to hopefully force them to throw energy. They throw energy, they go for the fly, that's perfectly fine by me. They're going to send in Serperior, and this is really unfortunate. If I had Draco Meteor here, I'd be in a great spot. But my charge attacks are completely walled, so they tank the Aqua Tail like it's nothing. I make it to the Power Whip, and it actually ends up being charge attack priority. Goodra, especially with my weird attack-weighted IVs, wins a ton of charge attack priority ties. I can't afford to send in the Camerupt here because a Frenzy Plant would basically one-shot me. Shadow Camerupt has 0 bulk to speak of whatsoever, so I'm going to send in Trevenant. Trevenant can absorb 1 Aerial Ace and farm down, and that way when they send in the Talonflame, I should be 2 claws away from a Shadow Ball. But they don't send in the Talonflame, they send in Wigglytuff, and this is going to be a tough game. I really hope they let this go. They do. Can I just farm everything down now? The Wigglytuff taking a lot of damage from the Incinerates. I go for the Earth Power. They should shield here, but they don't. Oh my goodness. They're leaving it all up to Talonflame. Talonflame boosting itself with a Flame Charge, but by doing so, I get free Incinerate damage. Their Incinerate's now doing more than mine, but I have the health advantage. It's a simultaneous KO, and with Trevenant alive in the back, that's gonna be a win. We got a great lead in the next match, Shadow Camerupt versus the Skarmory. Opponent safe switches into Annihilate. I respond with Trevenant, and they don't even bother building up to a Shadow Ball. They go for the Night Slash, that's very okay. I can now fire off the Seed Bomb, and they have to shield this if they want to preserve health on the Annihilate, and they do. So they're going to try and make a play for switch advantage, but as long as I match shields, they're never going to be able to win this matchup. So I can shield up the Night Slash, fully farm down, and I exit with energy that can inflict some pretty significant damage onto the Skarmory. Opponent is going to be waiting their clock, sending in the Skarmory. I'm going to throw the Shadow Ball at the last possible second, and Shadow Ball will do quite a lot of damage. Opponent never shields this because they know they're going to have to deal with the Camerupt. They throw 1 Steel Wing to defer that Incinerate damage onto the Shadow Whiscash. Great play by my opponent, but for the Whiscash, I have the Goodra, and Goodra does very, very well here. As you can see, even just the Dragon Breaths do so much damage. I fire off the Aqua Tail on charge attack priority, they shield, and now I just don't need the Goodra anymore. I can just win the game with the Shadow Camerupt. So Mud Bomb will pick up the KO. In comes the Camerupt. Camerupt going for the Earth Power. This is going to be good night to the Whiscash. There's a Skarmory with energy, but Camerupt has the shield to hide behind. In comes the Skarmory, and the opponent is going to concede the match. Moving to the next match, Shadow Camerupt versus Carbink. Fire type into a rock type, but here's where the ground subtyping is kind of nice. The rock throws only hit for neutral, although they still do a lot, and I have access to Earth Power. Earth Power, massive damage onto the Skarmory. In comes the Goodra. Goodra will be met with a potential Moonblast. Bait or not, I'm still shielding. They do not bait, which is quite nice, and they don't get the debuff either. I can't really ever farm down, so I'm just going to build up to double Aqua Tail. So now my opponent can't shield this, because if they shield, they're going to have to shield twice. So they're just going to let that through, and now they send in Cresselia. Cresselia, I'm a bit surprised they didn't switch it in instantly, but my guess is they were just wanting to force me to throw energy. Aqua Tail is going to connect. I'm going for Aqua Tail number 2. I would love to be able to catch a Moonblast. I feel like catching a Moonblast on a Camerupt could be a good play, so I switch into the Camerupt, getting the catch and the sneak. Let's go. But here's the thing. They have Future Sight, so I get KO'd. Oh no. This is not ideal. I send in the Trevenant, they can make another Future Sight, and this has suddenly gone downhill. I'm down 2 shields, I need Trevenant to be good in the back, and it's Annihilate, so Trevenant is good in the back. This is an incredibly safe bait here. They're running out of HP. They have to shield everything. I make it to the move on charge attack priority to a Shadow Ball. And this should be game-winning CMP tie for me. Because they can't KO with a Night Slash or an Ice Punch. It has to be the Shadow Ball. That means their energy dry. And now, the residual energy that I saved on the Goodra from earlier comes in clutch. As Goodra, able to output some nice damage, Dragon Breath plus the Aqua Tail KOs the Annihilate. And Cresselia just doesn't have any energy, so they get farmed down as well. Terrible lead, Shadow Camerupt versus Shadow Dragonair. I save switch into the Goodra. Opponent is going to fire off the Body Slam. Body Slam will barely not KO, so I will be able to withstand the damage, and I do just get the last second Aqua Tail. Unfortunately, my opponent can survive the Aqua Tail, and they do know the matchup, so they are just going to let that through. That's a bit unfortunate, and now I have to decide where do I want energy. I decide Camerupt energy. Let's go for it. So Camerupt now up energy, in comes Lanturn. I'm just going to go for an Earth Power and switch. I do give them an entire Spark for free, but I should be able to switch after this, but I mistime it. My clock wasn't up, and that's really not good, because now my opponent is going to be able to force that shield back with the Surf. I'm going to send in Trevenant in the back. It's Charjabug, and this game is looking quite dire, to be honest. Trevenant does have a good matchup here, but as long as my opponent manages their energy well on the Lanturn, I don't have a win con. And if I had a Seed Bomb here, I could just click Seed Bomb and deny their second move, but I don't. I'm just short. So they're going to be able to fire off a move. I will commit the shield. I did think about potentially letting that go and farming with the Camerupt, but I would get outpaced there, I was pretty sure. So, and now my opponent can just overfarm perfectly to the point where they are now one off of the Surf. So in hindsight, if I had just played for better timing in the Camerupt versus Lanturn matchup and realized that my clock wouldn't be up after the Earth Power, then I think I could have won that. But unfortunately, misplay, and that's a loss. Great lead in the next match, looking for some redemption. Shadow Camerupt versus Shadow Alolan Sandslash. In comes Cresselia. The game's stuttering like crazy. Please, function. Oh my goodness. Overheat would nearly one-shot the Crest from that health range, so they are going to commit a shield. And now I can send in Trevenant, but Trev gets smacked with a Future Sight. Oh my goodness. I'm farming up here. At this point, I had no idea where their energy was at because the game was stuttering so much. So I end up shielding a move that I shouldn't have to shield, because if I knew where their energy was at, then I could always just cap tie them because Trev wins it. But unfortunately, with inconsistency in the game, I wasn't able to do that. Now here, I intentionally banked a Seed Bomb plus a Shadow Ball because you can hold both at 100 energy, and the Shadow Ball will put them into 1 Incinerate range. In the back, they have Deoxys. That's a Pokemon I haven't seen in quite some time. Deoxys was very strong in the Medicham meta because it could do some of the things that Medicham could do, but it also beat Medicham, whereas now Deoxys basically just loses to Annihilate a lot of the time. Like, Psycho Boost isn't one-shotting, and if a Psycho Boost is shielded, then the matchup just gets really rough. So it is cool to see Deoxys, as I haven't seen it in quite some time. They go for the Rock Slide, so they do have a move that can hit for neutral without debuffing themselves here. They go for another Rock Slide. It's going to be a race there, and it's the simultaneous KO. Camerupt cooks the Sandslash, and that's a win. Tough lead in the next match. Shadow Camerupt versus Vigoroth. I throw 1 Incinerate, save switch into Goodra, and my opponent is going to stay in here and fire off the Body Slam. Vigoroth is a ton of neutral play into this entire team, and that is not getting any better, as in comes a Wigglytuff. I did have to bait out the Wigglytuff, but man, I do not enjoy seeing this Pokemon. The good news is Wigglytuff is not going to be able to outpace here because it did the 1 Incinerate before switching. So Camerupt will actually be able to barely outpace here by 2 turns, fire off the Earth Power, and unless they shield, they're just getting KO'd. So that's going to be goodbye to the Wigglytuff. Opponent waiting the clock, so I will have the ability to switch. In comes the Vigoroth. I send in the Trevenant, and Trevenant will fire off the Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb will not be enough to KO, but it will do quite a lot of damage. The Seed Bomb will connect. This Vigoroth very low, and I have a choice to make. Where do I want to use my shields? I decide to let it through. It's the Rock Slide. That does significant damage. And now I think my play here is I'm just going to shield up the double resisted Body Slam and commit to the farm down. I'm hoping it's going to be Whiscash, but that's a weird looking Whiscash. That's a Giratina Origin in the back, and unfortunately, I don't think I'm making 2 moves. I faint before I get the Seed Bomb. Camerupt has no way to win this game, so I will resign the match. Hopping into the final match, and what a lead. Camerupt versus the Sandslash. Opponent does great to throw 1 Shadow Claw and then defer the Incinerate damage onto their safe switch Mantine. Mantine, a pretty big problem for this team. This is the first time seeing it, and they do respect the overheat. That's unfortunate. Honestly, I feel like a lot of Mantine are on Water Pulse, so I'm going to call it. It is just the Aerial Ace, which is quite nice, and they're going for another charge attack. Choice to make here. I will commit the shield. I should be able to make it to the Power Whip, but I'm expecting that they're going to try and fight for switch. So I'm actually going to go for a bait here. The bait instantly backfires as they call it. They make the Aerial Ace, and now this might KO. Oh, this is not great. Aerial Ace does not KO. It's a simultaneous KO, and now it's a guessing game. What will they bring in? I think they're bringing in the third. So I wait till it's 0, click Trevenant, and I get the call right as it's the Whiscash in the back. In comes the Camerupt, deleting the Alolan Sandslash. Drill Run KOs Camerupt, but I can farm down with the Trevenant. There's nothing the Whiscash can do. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. All in all, I had a ton of fun with this team, and I never thought that it would do as well as it did. To clarify again, I don't recommend this as a team if you're looking to gain elo. It's a team that has its flaws. Like, Camerupt as a whole is extremely glassy, but if you're just looking to have some fun in the final days of the season, I think that this is a pretty fun team. I think I went 11-4 in the battles, which if I tried it again, I don't think it would do that well. It was just, I got some favorable alignments and people just unfamiliar with how much damage Camerupt could do, but it was very enjoyable. My favorite part absolutely had to be the Magnezone lead, who stayed in for a second, realized their entire team was about to get 1v3'd by a Shadow Camel, and then immediately conceded the match. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been Home Slice Henry.